Hello friends, welcome back. Today I'm going to make a video about spirit babies because this is what we've been talking about this week in the membership Ascension School. It's a big topic right now. I mean, spirit babies is one of my favorite topics in general, but especially post eclipse, so much has been changing in many areas of our lives, but especially with the Spirit Baby Collective and just how much they have really started taking action and moving timelines. So I know a lot of people are probably feeling these changes, and I just want to point out everything that's going on with the spirit babies coming in right now. So I'll share more about that in this video. And then I'm also going to answer some questions that got sent in on Instagram. So what we're doing now is each week at the end of the week, I'm asking in advance what topics you guys want covered the next week. I'm going to pick a topic based on what I feel like is resonating energetically. And then I post a question box the next day and ask you to send in questions. Then I'll do a little video to answer those questions. And then we focus on that theme each week in the membership Ascension School. So if you haven't checked that out, we'll put the link in the description below. It's a monthly membership, and we have a live call every single week. And there's live channeling, there's Ahai energy healing. It's super activating. It's so much fun. There's an incredible community. You can check out all of the recordings, and there's also a 7-day free trial if you want to just noodle around in there and check out some of the past recordings and see if it resonates and come to one of the live calls. They are so much fun. Wednesdays are my favorite days for sure. So I started off with spirit babies because, it's funny. I don't talk about this as often as I don't talk about it in my content, I feel like, as often as I'm talking about it just in my daily life, with clients, with friends, and in terms of how much I'm channeling the spirit babies, my own spirit babies, other people's. It's a huge part of my work. And I feel that many people don't realize just how much spirit babies are involved in all of their timelines. So when you have souls around you, and I'll say when clients come in, I will, if that's part of what wants to come up in the reading, see those souls, feel those souls floating around. And sometimes there's one that's ready to come in. Sometimes there's a few, and they're deciding who's going to come in first. There's different options. And sometimes we can already pick up on, what the energetic connection is, what the soul contract is. These souls are picking families on purpose. They're picking parents on purpose. And they're also guiding their parents to be in alignment with being able to really bring that frequency in fully. And so sometimes what this looks like can be, and I'm coming from this, I'm not a doctor. It's not medical advice. I'm telling you what I see as a psychic and what I get intuitively, and you can just take that as information. But a lot of these issues that we see coming up in terms of conception, a lot of people are struggling more than ever before to get pregnant. There are very real physiological things going on, and there are also a lot of times things having to do with spirit baby alignment, where the soul is trying to come in, but they're trying to set up the conditions to be optimal for that frequency to anchor onto the planet. What that looks like sometimes is that if you're with the wrong partner, you won't be able to conceive potentially. Or if you're living in the wrong area, if the child wants you to move, or if you're out of alignment with your career. I see that one a lot with a lot of my clients in particular. They're wanting to have a child, and one of the big blocks is just how their business or their career is set up, where the child is saying, hey, we need to make these adjustments so that I can come in. And sometimes these are soul lessons, soul contracts. This can even include relationships you haven't had yet that need to happen as activators to bring in that timeline. So there's a lot that we could dive into there. We talked a lot about this in the call this week. It was a 2-hour call. And we also did like a birth story healing, because so much of, I would say, resistance we hold on to, inner blocks, traumas, health issues, connect back to our own birth stories. If you haven't done that work in terms of going into your birth story, everything that happened around your conception, the entire pregnancy, coming onto the planet, I would really encourage you to look into that in whatever way feels safe for you, working with somebody, because it's some of the most transformational work, and we can find out so much about why we are the way we are when we go into our birth story. But these souls that are coming onto the planet right now, they're coming in with a mission. They're very clear on what they want. It's very different than, I would say, other generations. Not saying this wasn't at play before, but it is a lot more intense. And a lot of the souls coming onto the planet right now are fresh. They're new. They haven't incarnated here before. And there are a lot of souls coming here that are new souls. Brand new souls, no karma, which is what the planet needs to upgrade its frequency. And there are also a lot of souls who have incarnated in many other places, but haven't come to Earth yet. And so that's going to bring a different vibration to the planet as well. And this is what we need right now. You know, I know a lot of people feel like we can identify the problems, but where are the solutions? And a lot of these solutions are coming through these new Earth children. And I've talked about this a lot before. I'm not going to dive super deep into it here because I've already talked about it a lot, but we know that what they need nutritionally is very different. What they're going to need in terms of education is very different. Their psychic senses are already turned online. And they're going to be a lot more sensitive because of how energetically in tune they are. I mean, it's so interesting to me. It's cool to see how many videos are up on social media of parents, you know, with their children, and their children are talking about, they remember where they were before. They remember choosing them. They remember talking to beings on the other side. They are saying, oh yeah, I was at Venus. I was on Venus before, and then I came over here. These kids are remembering. And so what I would say is the more that we can cultivate space for them to share what they remember, and to follow their creativity, the more we're going to be able to really learn from them. And I just know that a lot of the answers that we're looking for are going to come through these kids. And so we have to think of them as these wisdom keepers that are coming onto the planet right now. And I was saying on the call last night in the membership, there's this ancient frequency to them. Like, they're new, but they're ancient. They're very, very wise. And I know, a lot of people that I work with have children already, and they can feel that in terms of just how kind of different these kids are. And so it's so important that we as adults are doing our own healing work, are understanding our own intuitive gifts, are understanding how to work with these things ourselves so we can actually really support these kids. You know, I know my experience being super, super psychic and turned on fully as a child, and it was very, very overwhelming and very, very scary. And I think it's really important that we learn some of these tools to best support these kids and start to think about what structures we can set up to best support them. I know I want to work with kids a lot more. So that's just one thing, but a lot of fun stuff with spirit babies. I want to jump into some of these questions. So a lot of people asked me, I'm just looking at them on my phone, how to connect, how to start connecting with them. How do I use my mediumship to communicate with spirit babies? So you connect with them the same way that you would connect with any other spirit guide, so you can set up sacred space, tune into meditation, close your eyes, and just set the intention. I would like to communicate with any souls, any spirit babies that are around me, whether that's a spirit baby that wants to come through for you, or sometimes spirit babies will visit you who you might not be the biological parent for them, but you might be an important soul contract. So maybe it's your sibling's child, or it's your friends, or it could be anything. It could also be somebody's child who you don't even know that person yet, and that you're going to get connected eventually. So I mean, I talk to my spirit babies pretty much every day. They're very loud. And your spirit babies will become some of your strongest guides, and they really move things. You can ask them to, I mean, they're a manifestation tool. I often will ask my spirit babies, hey, like, align me with these opportunities, because everything that betters me and improves me and makes me happy and stable and feel safe also is supportive for them. And so they're going to get to work. So you can call them forward just like any other spirit guide, meditate, set up sacred space. You might also notice that around certain people or in certain settings, whether that's with certain music playing or certain scents or sounds, they come in more strongly, and I would say something that they're saying right now is just, especially first thing when you wake up and right before you go to sleep, those are great times to meditate. Those are great times to rewire your subconscious brain, but that's also a really great time. And they're often like with you, kind of surrounding you when you're sleeping. And so you can feel that energy, whatever your intuitive gifts are, however, if you feel, if you see, if you know, if you hear, and really just call them forward. And you will feel them very closely. It's a much, with spirit babies, I would say the dimension, the frequency they're at really depends on how close they are, because sometimes it can feel much higher. It can feel much more angelic, but right now they're really coming through almost on a closer frequency bandwidth as past loved ones, so to speak. Like they're very close and they're very active and they're very adamant. Spirit babies are very specific about the energy in which they come, right? So they choose their birth date. They need to come in at a certain time. It's really important that we allow that as best we can. And also with names, I really think it's important that we intuitively trust the name that comes through. So I know for me, I'm going to ask my babies what they want their name to be. That's going to be a conversation because there's an energy attached to that name. There's numerology, there's karmic debt, there's all kinds of things. It is a frequency container, and asking them what they really need, including food, things like that, is going to be really important. How do you know if your child is a new earth child? You just know. Trust your intuition. You just know. If you are here watching this video and that's your question, I would say your child is a new earth child. And in some ways, I could say every child that's coming in right now is a new earth child, because they are the ones that are going to be setting up the frequency of the new earth. Like there has to be this whole wave of new energy and new leadership and a new way of seeing things and doing things coming forward for us to change things. It's much more creative. It's much more independent. I mean, this leads into what should schools look like? We obviously need to change the education system. What they say, and what I have also gotten is really, it's a very individualistic path. And what I mean by that is we need to let them lead. We need to let them lead in terms of what they're wanting. And I think that a lot of us adults, we want to know, like, what's the new education system? What's the structure? Let's set it up. And it's going to be much more of a process than that. The current education system, what is up with this? Thumbs up, whatever. There we go. The current education system, it does need to be revealed to people, all of the pitfalls in that, and there needs to be some crumbling. But what I get around this, and I mean, they're around, I'm channeling, right, is just coming back to smaller communities. And so, homeschooling is a big option for a lot of people right now, especially in spaces like this, but it's more like pods is really what I've seen more, like these kind of pods. Like it could be anywhere between like 4 to 6 kids or 8 to 10 kids, but these like smaller groups with kids who have a certain vibrational alignment with that soul contract, or a similar learning style, because different people learn differently. I mean, I think human design is a great baseline. I mean, astrology, systems like that, they don't have to box us in, but they just give us an idea of, hey, we're built differently and different people learn differently. And spaces where, no, you're not just sitting down all day. I mean, there has to be movement, there has to be embodiment, there has to be integration in that way. And that's going to be really important. And I just feel like, with this is connected to teachers and pay for teachers and how they're revered and honored in society. And I also think like an upgrade even in how they're learning to teach, because it's going to be a bigger job, but it's a lot of these smaller pods, and it's kind of like a trade school vibe, if that makes sense. We can really advance kids more quickly if we keep it smaller, we keep it more focused, and we lean into their natural abilities. And there's someone really focused on a smaller group, and people who are, I don't know, just like similar interests, similar strengths, similar learning styles are kind of grouped together. And there's definitely they keep showing me like foraging in the forest. It's like real life skills. They're showing me kids doing energy work. Like I'm seeing they're out in a field and they're learning about herbs and plants. And then they're also out there and they're learning breath work, and they're learning to work with their energy field, and they're learning about their intuition. And there's this much more holistic thing going on. And I do feel like part of this shift, what I get around it, what they're saying is this might look like people who teach kind of independently going off and offering this as a smaller service. And over time, that kind of starts to catch fire. So it's a different type of education. And the most important thing is fostering creativity. That's a huge topic, but that's what I want to start with. I have fears about health impairing the process of these highly intelligent beings coming through. They're highly intelligent and they want to work with you. And so talk to your spirit babies about whether that's just setting the intention and saying it or having that conversation. What do they need? sometimes our health challenges are part of what's helping us align vibrationally with being able to bring them in. And so, for example, I used this example the other day. I mean, this is true for me. I have been having really bad HPA axis dysregulation. This is the nervous system, the adrenal burnout, and it was very clear to me. I mean, there are very real things going on that need to be adjusted in my life. But the other big piece, my kids were saying, yeah, we're putting you in this position because all the changes you need to make to heal this are the same exact changes you need to be a grounded vessel for us to come through. Like, it's all also part of my preparation to be able to eventually conceive whenever that happens, and understand this can happen years and years and years and years in advance. This is a large master plan. And so sometimes we don't always realize where these health issues are actually aligning us big picture with diet, lifestyle, supplement, whatever changes, relationship changes, routine changes that are actually going to allow us to bring those kids in. So I would recommend not having fear about that and trusting that these kids are trying to work with you and they're guiding you, and they can also heal you the same way you can help to heal them. And so there's this back and forth conversation and supporting them and coming down, coming here. What do you need from me with my body? And so that might be some strange diet adjustments. Trust your intuition. But also you can ask them to do healing work on you while they're on the other side. And that can be really powerful. So I definitely wouldn't have any fear about it. I would trust that they're trying to work with you. Everything is in alignment with this working out and this happening. That's what wants to happen. Are the New Earth kids coming to parents who can nurture them and change the system? Yes and no. New Earth kids are coming to, they're choosing their parents, and based on what they're going to need to fulfill their mission, they're going to choose those parents in terms of, that can have to do with resources, that can have to do with areas of expertise. Like if somebody's coming to be the next Mozart, they're going to choose parents who can help facilitate that. It could be having to do with where they live, all those little factors. You know, my kids are going to be super duper psychic. And so they chose me because my kids aren't born yet, right? But they're choosing me because they know how hard it's going to be for them to come onto this planet with these abilities. And I'm one person who can really, really understand that and teach them and support them in a way that somebody that doesn't do what I do maybe wouldn't necessarily be able to. The same way, let's say a professional athlete is coming through, I might not be able to support them in the same way. So it has to do with living situation, expertise, previous experience, and soul contracts. And the thing is that sometimes, and the human isn't like this, but sometimes we choose parents who are going to teach us tough lessons. And sometimes the New Earth kids are choosing families that need a lot of light, that need a lot of healing, and they're coming in to trigger those people. They're coming in to be very different, to be a black sheep, and to do a lot of that healing work for them. So it really just depends on the child, but the souls coming in are super mission oriented, like right off the bat. They're not screwing around, and so they are choosing people intentionally. And this has to do with, I do also feel like, you know, with a lot of sometimes the issues with, a lot of issues with pregnancy, energetically, one thing that can be going on can be related to it's mission alignment, it's soul alignment, you know? And so the more that we clear our channel and we act as that clear channel, the easier it will be for us to bring through everything, including babies. Are there babies waiting for me even if I'm not sure I want kids? Hell yeah, there are. Yeah. It's a collaborative choice. It's a collaborative choice. And sometimes you think you don't want kids, and then they come in and you realize that's a big part of your assignment. I think that's a big thing that happens for people. It's like, you realize, wow, this is actually a big part of my mission. I never expected that. And also sometimes these souls can be coming around you again for friends or siblings, and they want to have a soul connection with you. So whether or not you're going to be the physical vessel to carry those children, these spirit babies will want to connect with you and will want your support, because they're looking for all the support they can get from everybody in their lives. How to start I already said that. what are my thoughts on the biological clock? A lot of people have asked me this. I know that, this might, whatever people say, I don't believe in the biological clock. I think that people can get pregnant at any age, and also at any point in whatever they believe to be their menopausal state. I know that that's really, people think that's far out, but it is what it is. And we've talked about this a lot in the membership, in the community. I mean, and I have a lot of friends who specialize in this as well. I mean, there are a gazillion case studies and people who will tell you, no, I literally conceived and I wasn't having sex, or I've already gone through menopause. I mean, I've heard this a million times, and vibrationally, I just don't believe that pregnancy works or conception works the way that we think it does scientifically. And maybe that seems like kooky to people, whatever. I was saying that years ago, so I just don't energetically think it happens like that. And I know that people get stressed about the timing. I would just say, on a spiritual level, don't get stressed about the timing. It happens exactly when it's supposed to happen. And we put this human thing on it, like it needs to happen this time. But the spirit babies are facilitating this to be in perfect alignment. You don't always realize that until you get through it. So I know that might, kick some things up, but I've talked about that a lot before. And I would say, trust how magical your body is. So I'm going to stop there. There's a lot to get into with this. Definitely check out the recording of the membership call that we had this week about spirit babies. It was 2 hours. We dove really deep into it, and we did a lot of powerful healing work, energy work. And the Spirit Baby Collective is coming in real hot right now, changing relationships, changing careers. And so if you're feeling like things are getting pulled in and out of your life, yeah, there's eclipse energy, but a lot of this is spirit baby facilitation, aligning you with your highest timeline and aligning you with an ability to help ground them in, whether you're the vessel or you're connected to somebody who is the vessel for them to come onto this planet. All right. So if this resonated at all, or if you found this interesting, leave a comment below, hit the thumbs up button, and the link is in the description below to check out Ascension School with the membership. And I will see you in a future video.